Hi, I'm Sean Tierney, and this video is the first session of my 2019 lessons for Java in FRC. I'll begin covering some basic Java concepts that you would need to know for coding in the first robotics competition. Some of the ideas covered are variable types and usage, integer math, Boolean logic, and if-else statements. To work alongside this video, you'd need to have the following installed on your computer. First, you'd have to have an active JRE or JDK, which you can get from the Oracle website. And second, you would have to have Visual Studio Code installed along with the Java extension pack from Microsoft. Now you can install that Java extension pack within Visual Studio Code in the extensions marketplace. So you don't need to go anywhere else online for a Java extension pack. The links for installing the JRE and the Visual Studio Code, however, are down there in the description. So you can click on those and follow instructions. I hope this video is helpful to you anyway, and I hope you get all the information you need. All right, enjoy. Okay, let's get started. So, if everyone can open their Visual Studio Code.
Wait, so am I already there, or do I need to I know nothing about this at all, so...
Yeah, you're already in Visual Studio. Okay.
No, I thought you said code, so I didn't know if there was a different section.
Yeah. So, basically, we're gonna start off like any self-respecting coding class. We're gonna start off with a hello world. So I'm going to be showing. I'm going to be showing you Java because that's one of the easier languages to use for FRC, and I'm only going to be showing you like the basics you need for FRC. I'm not going to go super in depth since this is just kind of a summer workshop class instead of like a whole like college level sort of thing. So to start off, let's open up. You can do Control N to open up a new file. You can save it as you can call it hello world.java in camel case. Camel case meaning the first letter of each word is capitalized and there's no spaces or underlines or dashes between them. All right, so we'll start off by typing public class hello world and hopefully if everything works well, then you can do main, type in the word main and do control space, or I think should work, or command space if it's a Mac, and click on that first one, enter on that first one for autocomplete, and that should give you the whole main method. If not, you can just look at my screen and copy it. All right, so that's the main method, which means it's the one that if you run a file, a Java file, then it'll go straight to that. A method is the Java name for function, by the way. It'll go straight to that function, that method, and it will call it, so it'll run everything inside these curly braces. So that's where we're going to put our code.
I'm stuck really quick.
Okay. Public class, you don't, oh, okay. That's because you haven't saved it. You should save it as a Java file first, and that should make things go quicker.
So I push new file.
Yeah.
And just open that.
Yeah, then you click on file and you can save as. That's what I did.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna restart then.
All right. So your name should be hello world.java, like in camel case.
I couldn't see.
So camel case where there is no space and the W is also capitalized. That's really just a Java naming convention. Like it could be named anything, but that's just what people tend to do. All right. Now, in that Hello World class, that Hello World file, you can just type that all lowercase public, all lowercase class, and the name of the file, Hello World, with the same case as you did that camel case, and open parentheses, not parentheses, open curly braces. That should be your first line. Alden, you'll want an open, not a closed curly brace. That's the left one, yeah. All right. Okay. And you'll want to enter between the curly braces so it opens it up, and in there you'll do your main. Okay. So if you type main, hopefully some suggestions should come up. Yeah, like that, and then press enter. Perfect. So you'll want another end curly brace on line 5 to close out the public class. That works too. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And if you can highlight lines 2 and 3 and press tab to. The convention is that as you go inward with more curly braces, whatever's inside curly braces gets tabbed so that it's easier to read.
Wait.
So, like you know how you like drag your cursor, like
It's not.
you don't do your left, like hold down the left click and move your cursor.
Yeah.
That's weird. It's not working. Huh. Okay, well, you can just go to the begin. Oh, it's working now. That's weird.
I'm doing the exact same thing I was doing before.
Huh. Well.
Oh, that's it.
All right. And then or like you could really just look at my screen and copy exactly what it is as I do it.
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna move on for now. The inside that main method we're talking about, you want to type the word sysout. That's sysout, and VS Code will say sysout, and you press enter. It fills in all that system.out.println. And inside those parentheses, you'll want to put quotes, and inside those quotes, you'll put hello world. So that print line method, that function, prints a line to the console if the file is run. So I'll let you guys get caught up there. Huh.
Wait, so Sean, this is kind of like Python, but everything's a bit longer. Like in Python, when you're printing something, you just put print and then the thing. But this, you have to write out this whole thing.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why we have autofill. Because I don't want to type all that every time.
Yeah.
Oh, also remember, it should have filled it in for you, but there's a semicolon at the end of it. That's at the end of every statement in Java is a semicolon.
Okay.
Yeah. Alden, if you can't get the tabs working out for you, that's all right. It'll run all the same. That's just an eye. It's just more pleasing to the eye if it's a certain way.
Okay.
Like, as long as you just have those two ending curly braces, then you should be good to go. Just have them somewhere after that semicolon. It should be good to go. All right.
Do I want them or no?
Okay. All right. So once we have all that, we'll want to run this code. With VS Code, you can run it in the terminal. If you go into terminal, run active file, should do it, but then it says permission denied. You'll want to just copy all that text it says, that's the path to it, and you can say Java that, and that'll run it.
Okay, wait.
Yeah. It looks a bit different on Windows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wait, where would I type that on Windows then?
So I'm copying like the first line, right? The path to it.
Right.
Got it.
Oh.
And just run after that?
Yeah, do a... I think
mine's got an error.
the J should be capitalized in Java.
Wait, so wait, where do I type this here? Because it looks different than from your screen, like
Right.
stuff on your screen.
Right. Okay. So you're good. You're good so far. You'll need to say you can copy that path that it just did in yellow, and then if you type Java in front of it.
Oh, wait. Actually, paste it right there. Java in front of this, right here, the white part?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'd probably just say that.
With a capital J, yeah. Sorry, what was that?
I said maybe I need to say that. Maybe that'll make it work, and it did. really is.
Huh.
So it's
Okay. That's interesting. Maybe the capital J doesn't really matter. Let me try that. Yeah, guess so. Interesting.
The module cannot be. What?
It's kind of weird, Ivan, that I can't see your screen. I can see
Yeah,
your.
I'm trying to figure that too. It's not. For some
your
reason, it's not.
mouse. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Have you tried
So-
turning it off and on again?
So it keeps giving me the same error.
Huh. Oh, you're type. You don't do Java and then the path, right?
So which one do I copy from the original one, right?
So I see that C users / John and Darius / document / hello world.java. Just copy that whole thing and
Okay.
type Java in front of it, and that should work.
Okay.
So it'll look like Java C : whatever.
Oh, in front of it. Okay. Let me 1 second.
There has to be a better way. I seem
Yeah.
to there. Yeah.
Wait, so do I have mine okay or is mine messed up? I feel like I have messed up because I know literally nothing about this at all.
Okay.
Could not find or load main class.
Well, Alden, you still need to say
Well,
Java space and then
mine
the
said
whole
that
class.
I had to save it.
Okay,
Yes.
that's probably the problem. It's probably not loading it.
Wait, so Java space and then this whole thing right here?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Then enter and it should work. Well, it should have some errors because you didn't type everything into the class, right? Yeah, beautiful. Okay. Oh, actually, that's the wrong error that I thought it would do a different one. Okay. Well, in your class, helloworld.java, if you can just go to line 4 and just type in 2 closing curly braces, then that should fix. Oh, and you're also missing on line 2 after args. Can you do a closing parentheses?
Wait, so brace or parentheses?
Parentheses. It's not a parentheses.
Can't find it on my keyboard.
It should be over the 0. The shift of the 0. There you go. All right, save it first, and then run it.
So Sean, do I have mine right? Because it keeps saying could not find or load main class, and then the path.
Oh, I see. Wait, I see what the problem is on line 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wait, so okay, you go after. Okay, so you go to terminal and then you push run active file, and then Okay.
Yeah, it does that. You should copy paste that one. Yeah, that one that has full Java. Yeah, just like that, like you're doing. Make sure there's a space between Java and C. And that should work.
I see my problem.
Wait a minute.
So did the right error pop up on mine now, or is it the same one?
Let me see. Alden, the term Java is not. Huh. That's weird. Because I should have known. You probably have to have Java installed on your computer. Well, I think we can deal with that issue later. For now, just like type the things, and you won't be able to run them today. That's too bad. I forgot to include that instruction. Okay. Ivan, you're missing another. Well, the closing curly brace on line 2 shouldn't be there, and it should be after line 4, before line 5.
Oh, okay. So right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that'll work. The tendency is to have closing curly braces on their own line.
Okay.
Yeah. Good tabbing too.
I did do a bit of Python, so.
Oh yeah, so you really had to get your tabbing down.
Yes. Alrighty, let's see if this works now. Nope, still didn't work.
So what do I do from here since I don't have Java on my computer?
Yeah, make sure you save it.
Well, Alden, you're just
You can just
gonna.
press the up arrow.
Yeah, you can just press the up arrow to copy stuff. Thanks, Gaden. For you, Alden, I'll just check in on you and make sure you have all the right syntax, and we'll just make sure it's typed correctly.
Okay.
So do I have the same problem where I don't actually have Java installed, or is it something to do with what I've actually?
Ivan, it seems like you have the same problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can fix that on or before Thursday.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So everything is typed correctly for you two. Alden, you are also good. Okay. Great. All right. We will move on. Does everyone understand what's happening with the code? Anyone have any questions?
No, I think I got this.
No.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Cool. So, a big thing that we can start out with is using some variables. So, you've heard of variables in math, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like solve for x, and then that letter x would contain a value, and you would have to find out that value. So it's pretty similar in that you're assigning a value to a thing, so that you're basically letting the computer store certain information in its memory without just having to put that information and like remember it. You might have that where you need your code to be more versatile. So you would use a variable that can be set in multiple different ways, as opposed to just using the number that can do one computation. So it has a lot of applications. So you can keep in your same file, or you can go into a new file. Let's see. we'll want to, okay. So there are several types of variables. There's an integer, shortened to int, which is much like an integer in math, where it doesn't have anything after its decimal place, like 1, 2, 3, -5, 0. But 2.5 is not an integer. There's this thing called a double, and that is just a Java's word for a decimal. And that is like, it's just exactly that. It's a decimal. And like 3.2 and whatever. There's a Boolean, Boolean, and that type of variable can have either a state of true or false. And so it's a binary variable, basically. And there is also a char, short for character. And that can just have any character, like F or 3 tilde or whatever. And that'll always be surrounded by these single quotes. There's another type called a string that's surrounded by double quotes, and that's basically a bunch of characters. Like in the hello world, you noticed how that hello world was surrounded by double quotes. That meant that it's a string of characters, and you would have to print all those characters, that phrase, out to the console. So that function println only takes strings, and sometimes it automatically converts things to strings as it takes them. So that's that sort of thing. So those are types of variables. Let's get into how to. Well, first off, does anyone have any questions about those types? You don't have to like remember them all right now. But
do I type like everything that you type?
No, you don't have to do anything just yet. All right. Here, I am going to show you how to actually make variables. So everything you're going to do for now, you're going to do inside your main method. We can make this variable int num or number, whatever you want to call it, equals 2. So that's an example of a variable. Whenever you make a variable, it goes in the same format every time, where you have the type of variable, space, name of the variable, and then equals and its initial value. And a semicolon. And you can also separate that into 2 lines. We call that type name, semicolon, and name equals initial, semicolon. So those 2 lines and that 1 line do the exact same thing. We call that declaration and initialization of a variable. Because when you say type name, or in this case int number, you're declaring what the variable is and what its type is. And when you set it to an initial value, that's called initialization. So up here to this example, you could have int number equals 2, or you could have int number number equals 2. Make sure you have semicolons. And both of those two things do the same thing. And you could do that sort of thing as you could use that sort of thing to print it to the console. If you do system.out.println and number, this time with no quotes because it's not trying to print out the string that is number. It's printing the value of the variable number, which is 2. So me and
Try to do this.
so
Am I up right now, or do I need to do something else?
well, you should be just typing the int number number equals 2 and printing number.
Okay.
So, Sean, can I do it in the same tab? Do I just have to put main in like a different row, or do I have to open a new file?
You could even, like, if you want to, type stuff below the print line hello world, and it'll just print hello world and then do the stuff you ask it to.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm in the same tab doing all this.
Okay.
Wait, so you put system print what? Can you go back to your screen?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
That sysout shortcut saves time. Oh my god. Okay, so it seems only Caden can run it today. Oh.
Yep, that works.
here.
Cool.
No?
Sounds good.
Sean, is that correct?
Int number equals 2.
Or
Yeah,
copy this together?
that works.
I copied exactly what you put. Does this look okay to you? No. I don't know if I need this stuff down here. I just.
Right, that stuff down there, that's not code, that's just
I was just typing exactly what you said because I have no idea.
that's just the template of how to do it. Make sure that it's all inside your main method, meaning between your curly braces,
Okay. So wait.
because your main method is what's actually going to run.
So do I put curly braces on this line too?
Oh, no. You just need to copy your lines 6 through 9 and put them just after line 3, but before the curly brace on line 4.
Okay.
Okay. So y'all get the basic concept of variables, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. So then we can I'll show that your mathematical operations that you've learned in the past also apply to Java. So, for example, here, just something that has all 4 of the main operations that you learn. Number is 42 divided by 21 plus 5 minus 9 times 2, just to show you that the slash is divide and the asterisk is multiply. And of course the dash is minus. I mean hyphen is minus, yeah. And doing that should print out the result from that. So if you want, you can set your number equal to that.
Wait, okay, I'm still stuck trying to put this here, so one sec.
Okay.
Wait, so what's an easier way to like copy stuff on here instead of just using copy and paste? Is that like the only way you can do it here?
Well, one thing is you could probably, what is it on a, there's a keyboard shortcut, like, dang it, what is that on Windows? For Mac, it's Command Alt arrow key. No, it's not. For Mac, it's Shift Alt arrow keys, but
For what? Copying?
for selecting.
Ah.
I just need to put this stuff right there.
Okay.
That's what you said. I don't know if I need to do that actually.
I mean, yeah, just know that that's what you should do, you know. And we could just move on. Okay. All right, so time for a new operation that you didn't learn in math class. It's called the modulo. So have you all ever heard of the modulo?
Nope.
All right.
I
So,
did Python, I heard about it.
okay.
I kind of forgot what it did though.
Right, so I think it's the same symbol as Python. It's the percent symbol.
Yes.
So it basically means it's the remainder if you divided two numbers. So the expression 10 mod 5 means you'll divide, you'll do 10 divided by 5, and you'll take the remainder, and that's the answer. So 10 divided by 5 is 2 with a remainder of 0, so this evaluates to 0. If you wanted to do something like 12 mod 5, that's, again, 2, but it divides to 2, and the remainder is 2, so that's the answer, is 2. So that's it's often used as a way to find if things are divisible by something. So if you had any sort of number and you did that number mod whatever you want to figure out if it's divisible by, then it'll be 0 if it is divisible by that number, and it won't be 0 if it's not. So for example, if you have a number 23 and you want to figure out that if 23 is divisible by 4. I mean, we all know it's not, but if we could print out number mod 4, and it would print out it would print out 3, and since that is not 0, you know that it is not divisible by 4. So knowing that, I'd like you guys to make a program that finds out if any number is divisible by 5. You can assign, well,
Just pick a random number.
yeah. But
Okay.
you can change that number, just like how I can change this 23 to a 47 or whatever.
Okay,
So
I'm confused with that.
it'll look very similar to my code.
Okay.
Does that look right?
Wait, can we see your screen? Or...
That look right? That looks right. Yep.
Okay. So you're just asking it to see if whatever you've assigned number to is dividing it or is divisible by 5, correct?
Right. So Alden, I don't know if it's easier to just delete what you have after line 6 and just retype it in your main method.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Me.
Okay.
Just comment all that.
So wait, what did I need to type again? Or
So you can just start off by typing what's on my screen. You could ignore what comes after the print line statement. Well, not quite. Just make sure everything's in these curly braces.
okay.
Here, I'll do that to make it easier to see. So now it should look pretty much exactly like my screen.
Okay.
All right, there we go.
I just commented everything out from the hello world and just put it at the bottom here.
Okay. All right. Speaking of comments, once we're wrapped up with this exercise, I'll talk about that.
Wait, is it system print or system what dot what?
So you can
System
just
dot out.
oh
I had
Just
to
type sys out, press in.
yeah, you can put sys out and it doesn't.
Yep. All right. Okay. So you started typing stuff in front of your closing parentheses. You want everything to be inside those parentheses, you know? Or not parentheses, curly braces. So
Did I do that?
you see how I have on my screen, see how I have this opening parentheses on line 3 and closing parentheses on line 8? That means...
I have an opening one on this one right here on 2. That doesn't.
Yeah, that's good. And you need a closing parentheses at some point.
There's one right here and stuff.
There's that one, but that yeah, you need 2 since you see how there's 2 opening ones at the top. There's one for the class and one for the main.
Oh yeah. So do I add one right next to it, or should I just add one like on another line right here?
Another line would be good.
Good.
All right.
Can you go back to your screen so I can see
Yes.
the...
Okay. All right. So while he's copying that, I'll start explaining about comments. So a comment, 2 of you've done Python anyway, so you're somewhat familiar. A comment is just things that the computer doesn't read as code. So in Java, it's a double slash. So you do a double slash on one line, you could just start typing whatever you want. It'll still run all the same. Still runs
So
and produces
if you ever want to like remove something, you just put 2 dashes in front of it, and it won't run that part of the code.
Yeah. So like if I did 2 dashes here and ran it again, then it will do nothing.
Okay.
Control slash is a nice thing that you can like. I could even do all of that and control slash, and it would comment all of it out.
Oh, wow.
So that's,
Useful.
yeah. The other comment is a multi-line comment. So you start it off with a slash and asterisk, and you end it with an asterisk slash. And in between those two, you can type whatever you want, and you see it's green, so it also doesn't read it.
Okay.
So it's like the Arduino comments. Does it the same way?
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. How's it going? Okay. All right. Looking good. So, back to our talk about variables. We've done integers. Let's move on to doubles. So you could really, where we say int number, you could really just say double number. By the way, number is just the name of it. You could call it Bob if you want to. So you could do that double number equals 23, and it should still work exactly the same. I didn't save, so of course it'll work the same if I didn't save. Yeah, 3.0. Look at that. Since it's treating it as a decimal, it's no longer 3, it's now 3.0. All right. So one really interesting thing with integers and doubles is integer math. So if we can call it like, let's just move down here and call it double. Oh right, let me get my template back for making variables. That you can do either of those things to make a variable. So double is the type. Bob1 is the name, and equals its initial value is, you can say 4.0, and we have int bob2 equals 4.
Wait, so do we have to type all this stuff, or are you just showing me?
I think I'm just showing you right now. You can type along if you want to, but not mandatory.
Went down, so I just like stopped.
All right. You know, I'm gonna rename this. I'm gonna call it double bob1 int bob 2, or int bob1, and just so it's clear what sorts of bobs we're talking about.
So wait, so when you have the double in front of it, that just means it has a decimal. It's now a decimal. It's not just a single number.
Right.
Okay.
So, here, I'm going to do 2 different print lines. 2 different print lines. I'm going to do double bob. Here, let me do my. Oh, not that one. Come on. Do that. Double. Come on. Stop, computer. Go away. Okay. Double bob 1 divided by double bob 2. Now I'm going to do the same thing with int bob 2 int bob1 and both of them. So we can see the differences. All right. All right. So you would think that all of these would be the same. So 4 divided by 3 is like 1.333 or whatever. So when you save it, it should theoretically print out 1.3 whatever on all of them, but it won't on the last one. It does all that, except on the last one it only prints 1. Now that's because it does something called truncating, which means cutting stuff after the decimal place off, so, or just basically rounding down. So when you divide two integers, it rounds to the, not rounds to the nearest integer, but rounds down to the nearest integer. So even if we had int bob1, int bob2, even if this int bob1 was 5, you'd think it would round up to 2 since it's 1.67. You'd think it would round up to 2, but nope, it rounds down to 1 still, because it truncates. Oh, I can kind of hear myself off in the distance, echoing. Huh. All right, does that make sense? This is how integer math works.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see, make sure I got it.
All right. So that's that stuff. We can get rid of that. All right. So next, we can do some work with booleans. So I'm going to set up this boolean. This boolean Sean is cool. Sean is call. Sean can't type. True. Let's see. True or false? I'm going to go false for today. I'm not feeling that confident. Boolean Sean is cool equals false. And then we can have... So, well, that's basically the same template applies to booleans. Oops, wrong one. Well, I guess it's gone forever. Oh well. That same template of type space name equals its initial value applies. By the way, you can reset. You can reset variables as much as you want. So Sean is cool equals true. Sean is true. Cool is still true. And it'll just print out it'll just print out the last thing that it was assigned to. So last thing here was true. Okay. So by the way, a good way to visualize variables is you can think of a variable as a box, and you would put something inside that box. And when you have a box, you don't you talk about it about what's inside it, you know? For if you have a gift that you're getting for your birthday, they say, oh, they got me this cool gift. They're not talking about the box around it. They're talking about what's inside. So in this case, the box is Sean is cool, and what's inside is false or true or whatever it is at that moment in time. So when you call it in this print line statement, you're not going to print out the text, Sean is cool. You're not going to print out the box itself. You're going to print out its content, which is true at that moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's like basic Boolean stuff. I would like. Now we'll move on. Don't need an exercise yet. So one big thing with Booleans is what's called comparators, and it does what it sounds like, in that it compares things and gets a Boolean from it. So an example of a comparator, well, there are 4 comparators, I think. I don't know, probably 4. No, more than that. There's equals, not equals, is greater than, is less than, is greater than or equal to, and is less than or equal to. So 6 of them. This is how it works. These, you might notice that the equals
Is 2.
is 2 equals, where it's only 1 when you're assigning something to a variable. So you can think of the single equals as just the word gets. So the variable Sean is cool gets the value of false. Whereas this is checking if the 2 values are actually equal to each other. And this is this bang or exclamation point equals, that means not equals. And the rest of these are pretty much self-explanatory. It's greater than, it's less than, it's equal to or greater than. I mean greater than or equal to, and it's less than or equal to. So you can kind of think of those comparators as converting to a Boolean. So for example, if you have you could even assign one of those things to a Boolean, like right off the bat. Boolean Sean is cool is equal to 1 equals 2. So that looks a little weird since you have 2 sets of equal signs. But you can imagine parentheses around this. There don't need to be parentheses, but Boolean Sean is cool is equal to whether this is true or false or not. I mean, whether this is true or false. Yeah. So since it's false, Sean is cool will be false. You know, I'm gonna change the name of this. It's getting a little hurtful. You can just call it bar. Screw the creative names. We're coders, dang it. Naming isn't our thing.
So when you're using a Boolean, you can use like the greater than or equal to or equals to assign true or false. So you don't have to put true or false in there, right?
Right.
That's why you're using this.
And when you say bar is 1 is not equal to 2, 1 is not equal to 2, that's true, right? So it should print true if I save it and run it. You can be doing this along with me if you want to get some of it in your fingers, or you can choose to just watch. It's up to you. You can also do the same thing with greater than or equal to, all that sort of stuff. You all know how numbers work pretty much, so you just have to remember which way is which. So I remember learning in a while ago that the way to figure that out is to imagine the sign as a Pac-Man, and whichever way the mouth is facing is the bigger one. So like 1 is less than 2. If you like draw a circle from one end of that sign to the other, then it's facing towards the 2, ready to eat it. So that means that saying that 2 is bigger, and that is true. So that'll print true. Kind of a weird way to remember it, but I like it. Anyway, any questions about comparators?
No,
No?
not so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah. Was there something? Yeah, like this. Okay. All right. So, it was. Here's a little activity for us to do with some comparators, just to really cement it in there how they work. So I have these 5 booleans that I've set up here. I'd like you to go through them and start evaluating, seeing whether they will print true or false. So I'm going to print each one of them. And I'd like you to predict whether they're going to print true or false. You can write it down somewhere, and you can just see when you're done, and then I'll run it, and we can test it. Sound good?
Yeah, I have to first.
Okay.
Actually, my mind won't run, so I can't really do that, but I'll write them out.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, can you go back to your screen so I can copy it all down?
Yeah. What?
I don't know how you like copy
Did I
it.
see them?
Put it on there.
You don't necessarily need to write them all out if you don't want to. Again, it's just if you want to get the syntax into your fingers, you can. I'll just keep it on my screen if you want to just look at my screen and figure it out from there. All right.
Wait, can you go back to your screen?
Yes.
I'm copying exactly how you're doing it.
Okay.
I just took out my phone and took a picture.
That works too.
We're doing that.
Again, typing it all out is optional. If you want to, you can just look at my screen and type just 1 is true, 2 is whatever, 3 is whatever, you know. In plain English if you want. We only have half an hour left, so I'd like to get through this. Alright, you have until the end of this, and then I'll reveal. Alright. Let's get ready to run.
I think I got all of them right. I'm guesstimating.
Alright. So it's true, false, false, true, false. Everyone get that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think I was signed backwards. Yeah. ID.
Okay. Alright, let's move on to the next thing. So we've learned about Booleans now. I'm gonna delete all this. No, I'm gonna keep the Jeopardy, okay? Just for me. We've learned about comparators. The next thing we should learn about, let's see, do we want to keep going on with Booleans, or do we want to move on to casting? All right, let's keep going with Booleans for just one more thing. We're going to talk about and or. So, and or. So these symbols, these symbols are very useful for conditions. So they can say if the left Boolean, they're a way of converting more than one Boolean into just one Boolean, basically. They say if this one Boolean, at least one of these 2 or 3 or whatever Booleans is right. That's not how that works. That's how the OR works. If all of them are right, if all of them are true, then you're going to print true. Otherwise, you're going to print false. So the AND works just like it does in English. If one person says, I have 5 apples, the other person says, I have 4 bananas, and you want to know, is it true that person 1 has 5 apples and the other person has 4 bananas? And those 2 things are true individually, and so that it's true overall. Versus if that second person actually has 3 bananas, that's all you need to make it false, because only one of the things is false, so that's enough to make the whole thing false. The OR works a little different from English, because you would say, I would like oranges or apples, and if they bring you both, then you wouldn't. That wouldn't be what you asked for. But in Java, it's different. OR just means at least one of the things is true. So I'll give you some examples with real life Booleans. Boolean 1 equals true, and Boolean 2 equals false. Boolean 3 equals 1 and 2. Boolean 4 equals 1 or 2. All right. So now I'm going to sys out 3 and 4. I would like you to copy this stuff down inside your main method, inside your main function. To make it clear, you can say print and colon and the value of 3, and then print or colon and the value of that 4. I guess those aren't the best variable names because then you think of the number, but that's not what they mean. Oh well, it's fine. I wish I could keep your screens on this, but keep my screen on your screens. Oh, I probably could.
Yeah, so you can do is you can click share specific window, and then it will always stay on one window.
Huh.
It might glitch sometimes.
Where is that option? Is
Yeah,
that... Oh yeah, I remember seeing it now. Here, I'm gonna do that real quick. Oh, oops. Not that one.
Wait, so that the two ands means what again? I missed that for some reason.
The two ands just means and.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. Yeah, the single and is used for like weird binary stuff that's complicated. I don't really understand. Okay, share application window. Here it is.
Oh, God.
Great, yeah, that's much better. Oh, I never explained that and plus sign 3. So the plus sign just means smash these two, smash that like button. No, smash these two strings together. So it's used for both addition and that. Sometimes it can get confusing if you want, if you have multiple numbers and strings in one expression. So it's like, what are you gonna what are you going to just tack onto the end of it, and what are you gonna actually add the value of? So that can get confusing. So without parentheses, but. Alright, so once you have that all typed out, you should experiment with assigning different values to 1 and 2. Like you could have them true, 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 false, false, true, and false, false, just to see once it runs. Oh yeah, you can't all run it.
Yeah.
Caden can. Caden can do that.
Yes.
But I think that would be best. Now that Alden and Ivan, you've at least mostly typed all that stuff out. You can just see me run it with those things at this point. So I'm gonna assume you're watching now. So you see true, true, and then I run it. Oop. Yeah. Then the and is true and the or is true because at least one of them is true. So that satisfies the or. Also, both of them are true, and that satisfies the and. So if you put 1 to false, that should make the and false, because it's not true anymore that both of them are true. But the or stays true because at least one of them is true. Variable 2 in this case. And if you do both of them false, we already saw true false does the exact same thing because at least one of them is true and only one of them is true, so it's and is false and or is true. But if they're both false, then everything should be false. Because it's not true, yeah, that's right, and is false, also or is false. Because it's not true anymore that they're both true, and it's not true
That one of them is true?
yeah. All right.
Wait, I got a quick question.
Okay.
I wrote the terminal, and then wait, are you looking at my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, whenever I go to terminal, and then I push run active file, it just says that, and then this comes up.
Oh, that's
Click off.
interesting. Well, you don't. Well, we're not gonna worry about you running it yet, are we?
I guess not.
Right. So. Oh wow, my tone of voice actually sounded not very good there. What I meant to say was just we're not going to be running it for today.
Yeah, because we have to install it, right?
Yes.
To install Java, where do we find that?
That can be on oracle.com. We can find that after this session is over.
Okay.
Since we're nearing the end, let's see. I'd like to get through casting and if else. I'm going to skip casting for now. Might come back to it later. It's sort of a minor point. Well, you know, I'll basically just tell you, like really quickly, casting is just going from one variable type to another. So if you have here, let me get rid of all that stuff. If you have double decimal is the name of the variable, equals 0, and you wanted to make it into an int, you could do int num, also the name of that variable. It's not anything special. Num gets the value of decimal, but we want it. Now that should work already. But
So is this like putting the decimal box inside of the num box?
basically, well, technically it's putting what's inside the decimal box inside the num box.
Okay, so you're changing what's in the box.
Do you want us to be typing this out right now, or are you just showing us?
I'm just showing. So
Okay.
I believe that you don't need to, but you can put double in parentheses. I should have gotten more clear about casting before I taught it. Okay, it's not used very much, and you can always look up how to do it. So that, oh, I meant to do int in parentheses. So that says just make sure that it's an int type before you start assigning it to this int variable. Oh, Caden, were you asking a question?
I was gonna ask, like, if in this specific example that would truncate everything after the decimal point, right?
Right.
Like, yeah, okay.
I think normally I might see it the other way around, where you would put it as a double. Yes, I've definitely used this. If I need to do, this is definitely useful for integer math. Like if we really need to use this variable 1 and this other variable then we can and we really need to divide the two and avoid that integer math. Then we can just put double in front of one of them, and that way it will come out to 3/4, so 0.75. Oh, not int 3, double 3. So like if you're doing an average or something, average miles per hamburger, then you need to do division between like two integers. So in this case, you're temporarily, I don't want to say temporarily making one a double, because you're not changing the value of that box 1. You're taking the value that's inside the box 1, making that value a double, and dividing it by 2. So in other words, you take the value 3 from 1. Oh god, that's why I don't like naming it like this. You take the value 3 from this first variable, and you make that 3.0 divided by 4, and that'll get you 0.75. So that's at least one reason casting like this is useful. You put your desired type in parentheses before your value, and should be good to go. So that's a quick mini lesson on casting. Any questions about that?
Nope.
All right. 15 minutes left. Time for the big one is if-else statements. The Boolean logic that I've gone through so far is going to be very helpful for this. So the format, well, first off, what is an if statement? It's similar to what it might sound like. It says if a certain thing is true, then you're going to do certain code. So if condition in parentheses, then in curly braces, you're going to do stuff. So this condition if something is true, why that sounds like what type of variable does that sound like, guys?
Boolean.
Yeah. So if some sort of Boolean is true, we can do an example. Let's do a, I don't want to think of a name, so not int, Boolean bar is the name of that variable, because I don't want to be creative right now. Bar equals true. You can put bar in there. You could even, if you don't want to make it dependent on any sort of variable or expression, and you just want to always run this true stuff. I don't know why you'd want an if statement in the first place, but if that's really what you want to do, you can just put true there and it'll always run. Now if you put bar, it's dependent on the value of that bar variable. And you can do sys out printing running the if
else.
All right. Okay. So, is that clear on what an if statement is?
Yeah.
All right.
And so wait, so if you can have an if and then an else, right? So that
Yes.
true or false, it prints either one.
Uh-huh.
All right. I remember this from Python.
This is really seeming like similar to the Arduino I did
Oh, yeah?
like a while ago. Yeah, it's
Cool.
actually exactly the same as the Arduino. I already got the if and else in there.
Huh, cool. All right.
There might be differences later on, but so far,
Yeah. So far, they might have a little bit different names, but they're very similar to Python.
Right. I know in Python it's a capital T and a capital F for true and false, right?
I can't remember.
yes.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah, I did a lot of Python. Where is it?
cool.
No, I don't want to do that.
Okay. So here's an if-else statement. So the else part means if that first statement is false, then if that first condition is false, that you type right after the if, then you're going straight to the else part. You're doing what's in those curly brackets. So just in pseudocode, like if a certain condition is true, then you're going to do stuff if it's true, and in the else part, you're going to do stuff if that condition is false. Last. Okay. So knowing that, I would like you guys to make an if-else sort of thing, just like I have on this lines 8 through 13, and make it so that it would print whatever is, or make it so that it would print whatever is in the else statement and not the if statement. All right. So Alden, you don't necessarily have to type out all that. It's good if you want it as a note, but for right now, I think it would be since we're low on time, it's best to just focus on making it print what's in that else statement.
Okay.
Can you just type out the homework? That's the only thing that's left.
Mm-hmm.
So what I have right now is okay then? I deleted this stuff so I would.
Right, except you have to modify one thing to make it print the else.
Okay.
So,
What? Modify.
so knowing that, knowing how an if-else statement works, if that condition is true, it's going to print that if. It's going to print line 28 in your case, Alden, since that's what's between those curly braces. And if that condition is not true, it's going to do what's in the else statement, line 30 for you, Alden. And so, since it all depends on that condition, you need to modify it so that it will print your else statement.
So Sean, I just want to make sure I type this out right.
Mm-hmm.
I accidentally put an extra tab.
That's typed right. It'll compile correctly. It's just that it's nice to have what's in between those curly braces on its own line.
Wait. So,
So like how I have on my screen.
yeah, I gotta check this.
Okay.
Oh yeah, okay, I got that. That makes sense. Just to make it more clear.
Okay.
Wait, so what did my screen looks exactly like yours, so I don't really understand what you
Yeah, my screen it hasn't given the answer yet. What I was saying is, in order for it to go to the else, your bar, since that's just the condition in the parentheses, has to be false. So you have to, like I'm changing on my screen, you have to change bar to be false,
Okay.
so that when you would run it, Alden, you can't run it yet, but when I run it, it says 2 errors because I forgot to comment this stuff out. When I run it, it says running the else, which is what we want.
Okay, so mine's fine now then.
All right, does that make sense, Alden? How that works?
Yeah.
Okay, and everyone else too?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Okay, so, are we all going to be here on Thursday?
Yes. I just have to download all this on my laptop because I didn't think should I bring a laptop?
Yes, definitely.
I downloaded the stuff from my mom's laptop. She
Okay.
I'm on my laptop.
I'm on my desktop, so I don't have to re-download all this stuff.
I only
Okay.
own stuff.
So, Ivan and Alden, hopefully, either like tomorrow or Wednesday, I can get a video chat with you, or I'll show you some instructions on how to get it on your own. Hopefully, you can do it without help from me, but if not, I'm available. For now, I would like to have an activity for you all to do at some point before Thursday. It's totally fine if you don't get it done before Thursday. I'd like you to just take a stab at it before then. So basically, here, I'm just gonna get here. Now, that's right, it's only sharing that window, so you can't see that. I'm going to just go down here. I'm gonna start typing English. so that you can see what little assignment I have. So I want you to take or make 3 variables. All ints, all integers, and print the largest value to the console. Then once you have that, then print, let me enter, then print whether whether it is divisible by 2, or I'll just say it is even or odd. Whether that largest value is even or odd. So Ivan and Alden, even though you can't, you couldn't run it yet, you could try and make it, and hopefully once we get your Java installed and situated, it can work out.
Alright.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to, but I'll try.
Does he still need the team laptop?
Oh yeah, Alden, do you still, did you get a laptop that you can use for Thursday?
Yep. I'm borrowing my mom's.
Okay, sounds great.
I have to write this out, dang it.
Oh, happy pie time, guys.
314.
314.
Do you
Yeah.
want to screenshot it to Ivan
Yeah.
so he doesn't have to write it out? Or who else?
I just took a picture of it.
Okay.
That's a good idea. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so should I save this file?
Yeah, you can save it for reference as sort of your notes. I will have this as a video that I'll send you all the link.
Wait, Sean. So
Yeah.
I just opened this tab is open. I didn't realize it. It says Java open. Java development key required. Is that like what I need?
Here, we'll deal with that later. I have to go pretty soon. I'll send you instructions, and we can text and whatever to help you along.
Any last
So,
questions?
any last questions?
No? I think.
Okay, great.
Nope.
Good job, guys. Yeah. See you on Thursday.
Alrighty, see you then.
All right. Bye, guys. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you found it informative. I hope provided you all the Java knowledge you need for now, and I hope I see you in the next video. All right. I'll see you guys later.